of managing training process. Managing training process. But before we start with, I would like that if you have got any question on the previous day's session, previous we had a session on infrastructure planning. So if you have got any question on that, you can ask me. Otherwise, we'll continue with today's topics. And today's topics is selection, development, and management of trainees. So, do you have any question for the last session? You're most welcome to ask me. So it seems that there is no question. Should I go ahead now? Well, to introduce, I must say that you have, in the beginning, I said that managing training process is necessitated by certain facts, and the facts are uh, every organization has to grow, and for growth, every organization needs to perform. And that performance, there is a desired performance, expected performance for every organization. There are times what's happened, the expected performance doesn't take place. Actual performance may be less than the expected performance. And then when somebody makes his brainstorming, they can understand that there is something which is lacking in the organization because of which the expected performance is not achieved. So if there is a gap between the expected performance and the actual performance, then organization has to start thinking then how to go about this. What should the ways and means by which they can really achieve that performance? So the expected organizational performance and actual organizational performance, there is a difference, and if there is a gap, then organization has to take steps to fulfill that gap. And in that process, one of the most important tools for bridging this gap is providing training to the people, to the employees of the organization, so that they can come up to such a level of competence so that they can give the performance to the best and the organizational performance is ultimately achieved. But when we talk of training, the most important reality of the training process is the trainers. The trainers, they are known as the change agent. They are the people who brings the change in the minds of the people. And achievement of the organizational performance much depends upon how the trainers are being able to transfer the training to the people. The training is important, but the training is depends upon the actual training, results of training depends upon the trainers. And therefore, if the trainers are the important constituent of this training process, then there is a need for thinking about, pondering over the process of selection and development and management of trainers. We need to properly select the trainers, you need to develop the trainers, and need to manage the trainers so that prima facie you should get a very good trainer, and then you should be able to develop them. Then they should be able to provide, they should be able to give that kind of training which is really going to increase the performance of the organization. And therefore, it is about most important, it is a very important topics for any organization, and how to select, how to develop, and how to manage the trainers, so that they can really perform well, and that ultimately gives the organizational performance. And if that is the thing, then that means what we have to today we will be concentrating upon the selection, development, and management of trainers. So there will be various concepts related to that. So let me just share with my presentation with you, and so that you can talk about that. Yeah. So here we are, selection, development, and management of trainers. From this particular session, what you're going to learn, let me give you a glimpse of that. It is expected that after attending this session, you will understand the role of trainer in an organization. I've already told you that trainers are the change agents. They are the people who brings change in the organization, brings change in the minds of the people, brings change in the knowledge, skill, and attitude level of the employees of the organization. So, from this session, you will understand what are the roles of trainer in an organization in particular. Secondly, the process. What is the process of recruiting and selecting the trainers in the organization? Recruitment and selection is also a very important process where we are going to select people who are really competent enough, who can help us to achieve the organizational goal, the organizational expected performance. And then next aspect is how do you learn that how to develop the trainers. Unlike the trainees, the trainers are going to give the training to the people. They also need continuous training because things and concepts and practices in the environment are changing continuously. So it's not a static thing. Every aspect is dynamically changing, and accordingly, the trainers need to be developed over certain periodical time so they can remain up to date with today's changes, and they can help the trainees to meet the challenges of today's uh, environment. Next thing you learn, what are the competencies expected of a successful trainer? If somebody is a successful trainer, how do you identify that? How do you identify that? How do you know that what are the competencies which you can expect from the trainers? This is not only important from the point of view of understanding these, it is also important from the point of view of while you are going to select the trainers, you should be able to look for those competencies within the trainer so that you will be satisfied that we have been able to select the trainees, the trainers, the real trainers, which is expected. So the competence is expected from a successful trainer. You will come to know about that. And the fifth, next thing you learn how to manage the trainers. Managing the trainers is also an important aspect because managing means what that how to deal with them, what environment should we create for them, what will be motivating them, what will demotivate them. So overall, a management of the trainer, that also you will learn from this session. So now start with our first thing, the recruitment and selection of trainers. Now let us see what is this. There are various steps, as you know, that recruitment and selection of trainers. The first thing uh, I would like to ask you, I think all of you know about it, but still, as a part of an HR concept, what is the difference between recruitment and selection? I think most of you must be knowing about it, but I would like to give a little clarification about it. Recruitment is a process of attracting people towards the organization. It's not a selection process. Recruitment is a process of attracting people by showing the competence of the organization, the brand of the organization, so that people get attracted and the organization becomes in a position to attract good talents to the organization. That's a recruitment process. And the next process is when people are interested to join the organization, being attracted towards the organization, how to select out of those people who are applying for joining the organization. That's the selection process. And that selection process is an elaborate process. So, but in that process, this entire process has got certain steps. The steps which are involved in this are number one, assessing the need for trainers in the organization. So, whenever we talk of recruitment and selection, the first thing that comes into mind is that we need to find out that what are the need of trainers quantitatively and qualitatively. How do you know that? How do you know that? That will depend upon the subject matter, the depth of the subject, how to deal with the subject, what are the requirements of the organization, what are the subject matters, and to what extent it is the trainers that need to give training to the people, at what level. And this is possible to be known by the process of job analysis, job description, and job specification. Right? Analyzing the job, understanding the various functions involved in a particular job, one can understand that what are the requirement of qualification, experience, and competence of people who will really perform those. And when you understand that in a particular job, this is a kind of competence, qualification, or experience is required, then there comes the question of how they can be provided with that kind of skill or that kind of aptitude or that kind of knowledge. And accordingly, we'll be requiring the trainers who are in a position to deliver that kind of competence, that kind of skill, that kind of knowledge to the people. So obviously, it will the beginning will start from the fact what is the job, what are the performance involved in the job, what are the skills involved in the job, and do we have to match those competence with the competence of the uh, prospective trainers, right? So the third step is competency mapping. As I'm telling you, that by seeing the job, we come to understand that what kind of competence, what kind of skill, what kind of knowledge is required, and those are to be acquired from the trainers. So obviously, you have to map the competence of the trainer with this competence, required competence, and accordingly, you have to select the trainers from the market wherever it is, and that's a very very important process. Because when you know what is to be trained, when you know to what extent the people are to be trained, what knowledge, what subject, what aptitude is to be given to them, then we know we'll decide that what kind of trainers you're going to find out. Right. And then the fourth thing is this: after getting the trainers, as usual in other process also, after selecting the trainer, there is a process of identifying the vacancies also alongside it. That where are the vacancies? Now that will mean that in an organization, it depends upon the structure of the organization. That organization may himself they may have their own training centers, or there is an apex training center where the people are being trained. So if there is only one apex center, then there is no question of any finding out the vacancy. That vacancy will be remain in only one place. But at the same time, if there are various training centers of one organization spread it over throughout the country, then you may have to find out where are the vacancies and where the trainers are to be posted for, depending upon the subject matter and the convenience of the organization and the requirement of the organization. This is the fourth thing that so you've seen that the people are to be the vacancies are to be identified and people are to be posted there. And the fifth thing is also connected with this: what are the estimated cost of the recruitment? That is also an important thing. That is depends upon the organization. Whether the organization is in a position to spend how much, so what kind of people are we're to find out, and at the same time, what kind of expenditure we're going to make. How so, and that will decide that how elaborately we are to make that process, and we can so that we can make we are in a position to make the necessary expenditure towards that. So these are the steps which is involved in the process: assessment of the need of the organization on the basis of the uh, job analysis, description, specification that what kind of competence, what kind of aptitude, what kind of skills are required, and accordingly we require need to map the competence of the trainers with that kind of requirement. And accordingly, you select to the various process, and that selection process will involve may involve various kinds of maybe some written test, it may be some interview, and that will depend upon the organization and their policies. And after that, yes, the identification of the vacancies, that where are the people they are going to be posted. And of course, you have to find out the estimated cost of the recruitment. That is also important. When let us go further, the next step is identifying the sources of requirement. When you find that these are the requirements, these are the kinds of people, these are the people, competent people, which you require to find out, then we have to find out and identify the sources from where we can meet these people, get those people. And that sources may be of different places. It depends upon whether you want to. There's a need for a recruiting person as a person which is just new from the college, university, or we require some experienced people with certain kind of skills involved in it. So according to that, the sources may be identified. It may be other organization. It may be, and today we can outsource this to the various organizations who will find out the suitable people for the organization. And when you do that, then the next point is the conducting the interview of the trainer. The interview is a very important process by which you will be able to, will be able to find out the competence and the capability or the suitability of the trainers for the required thing which you want to really achieve, want to really get from them, with an overall purpose of training people to achieve the organizational goal and performance. Then conducting interview of the trainers, and then the conducting presentation of trainers for selection. This is one a very important aspect, and many organizations do that. See, taking an interview or taking a written test or an interview is an indicative of the thing, is indicative of the competence of a trainer. But when you see it, can see that trainer in action, that can give us a much better view or much better understanding about the competence of the trainer. So in many organizations, what they do a actual presentation of the trainers on a particular subject for a particular small period of time. If they may be asked to give a training lecture for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or half an hour, depending on the organization and their requirements. And so that presentation will reveal many things. That will reveal and the competence of the trainer, how much they will be suitable, how much they will come up to the expectation of the organization. So some people, experienced people, will be sitting there and will listening to that presentation, see that presentation, and can decide something. Process and cost involved in pre-training of the trainer. Then another aspect. When you take trainer from outside, they are suitable. They have got the basic ingredients or the basic requirements which you're expecting from them. But every organization has got their own process, procedures, policies involved. So the trainers need to be given that kind of punch of training, the pre-training, which makes them most suitable for the new organization where they can deliver the thing. So to make them more suitable and most suitable to the needs of the organization, there is a need for pre-training for the trainer. And the trainers who have been selected, they are given a pre-training on the actual requirement and the policies, procedure, process, and everything of the organization. And the cost involved in that is also to be seen and should be taken into account, because that ultimately that is the deciding factor whether such things will be required, will be able to be done or not, required to be done or not. And then after this pre-training, the placement of the trainers are made wherever they're most suitable, wherever they're required, they may be placed. So you can see there are few things here, important things. Identifying the source of recruitment from where you can get those kinds of trainers. Next is interviewing the trainers to find out their competence, their aptitude, and their level, and then conducting the presentation of the trainers so that trainers can really show their capability, and you can understand, the organization can understand their capabilities, their suitability for the particular purpose. And then there is a need for giving pre-training to make them most suitable to the organization, but they may be apprised of the policy, procedure, process involved in expectations of the organization, and accordingly they are given the pre-training. And after that, the placement of the trainers are made. So these are the steps which is involved in the recruitment and selection of trainers. Well, after that, the trainers are placed in the organization as we have seen. Now the next thing comes what? Next thing is the development of trainers. So mere replacement of trainers is not going to help us. There is a need for development of the trainers time and again, right? It's not a one-time affair. They are to be trained at periodical intervals just to make them uh, suitable for the changed environment around. Because the environment is absolutely dynamic, it keeps on changing. So we need to make them change. So, what are the things involved in that process? Is that as we understand that there's a need for development of the trainer. The need is very obvious thing because the environment is changing, the concepts are changing, the capabilities are changing, the skills requirement is changing. So everything is changing. So accordingly, the trainees are to be trained differently. They need to be continuously be given the feeding of the new concepts, the new ideas, the new skills, and accordingly, the trainers are also to need to be changed. They have to be developed with the latest things which is happening in the environment. So there is a process of continuous development. This will never end. As long as the organization will remain, as long as the organization will remain to function, will continue functioning, and continue to aspire for getting the growth and development and excellence. And the people are to be trained, and according the trainers are to be trained, trainers are to be developed in a continuous process. That's a process. Those who will remain continuous in developing the people, they will remain relevant to the environment and they'll be able to create their excellence. And for that development of that, one need to understand very important thing is that they have to identify the trainer's cases. As we understand, while we're developing the trainers, we need to find out what are the knowledge level requirement of the trainer, what are the uh, skills level requirement of the trainers, what are the attitude of the trainers, depending upon the subject matter, the areas, the target group, and level of training and everything. We need to identify the trainer cases which are required from the particular trainer for the group of trainers for the particular level of trainers. We need to identify this. And after identification, that kind of input can be given to the trainer so that they can get developed. Job experience of the trainers. So now, this is something, a very important aspect is that whether a theoretical knowledge in itself is enough everywhere, it may not be enough everywhere. There are certain areas where the competency skill is required. So until the trainer is experienced in that particular area of that field, they may not be able to deliver the thing the way it is expected from them. So therefore, there is a need for giving experience to the trainer. So sometimes, apart from the fact that the trainer is highly competent, highly knowledgeable, they may be given that on-the-job experience for a particular period of time on a particular area or functioning, so they become really competent enough with their experience, and they can really deliver the things to the trainees, and it becomes really valuable for the trainees to learn from that particular trainer. So that job experience of the trainer is something important. If they have the experience in itself, it's fine. Otherwise, they may be given that kind of some kind. Hello, any question? Hello, hello. Yeah. And the next point is keeping the trainers up to date with the latest development. As I told you earlier, that the trainers are to be kept up to date with the latest development because the environment is absolutely dynamic, it's changing, and if the environment is dynamic and changing, we need to see what's new that's happening in the environment, and we have to keep the trainers up to date with that, with the latest development. That is also a part of the process, entire process. So there are 5 points here. The need for development of trainers is a very important need is there. It should be continuous development. Then for that, we need to identify the trainer cases, the knowledge requirement, the skills requirement, and the attitude requirement. The job experience of the trainer is important. If they don't have the actual knowledge, job actual experience, they may be given them some experience on the job. And then from time and again, the trainers are to be updated with the latest development about what's happening in the environment, so they remain relevant to the changed environment. Now let us talk about some very important factors that while we say that selecting the trainers, The moment we say we need to select trainers, then the question comes that what should we look for in a trainer?
Sir, I have a question.
What are the need? What are the things that you look for in a trainer? What do you expect from a trainer? Well, and that expectations may be divided into various categories. Number one, the personal characteristics and traits of trainer. And the personal characteristics and traits of trainer, there are various personal characteristics and trainers which you can expect from a trainer, depending upon the area in which he is going to deliver. And not only that, even as a trainer, there are certain personal traits which must be present in all kinds of training. But we'll be seeing in detail those personal characteristics a little later. But this is one component which we'll be discussing little later. Next point is, apart from the personal characteristics, what are the expertise of the subject matter? That's a very important aspect. The people, the trainers who are going to deliver the training on a particular subject, they need to have the expertise of the subject matter. Without that expertise, they'll not be in a position to really deliver the things which will be beneficial for the training. Well, the expertise of the subject matter is important, but this in itself is not enough. There are people who have got lots of experience with them, lot of expertise in the subject, but if they do not know how to deliver the skill that to the people, the delivery skill of the trainer ultimately becomes of the utmost importance. Whatever you know, whatever a trainer knows, he should be able to transfer those things to the trainees. And so there is a skill, very, very important skill, and that skill is the delivery skill. One very important aspect which you try to find out from the trainer is his delivery skill. If a trainer has got that delivery skill, many things can be taught to him and he knows how to deliver that. That's a good proposition. And so, therefore, the delivery skill of a trainer is a very, very important thing which you should look for in a trainer. And as I told you earlier, the trainers are given sometimes after interview, a presentation session is done. And the purpose of the presentation session is to um, get that understanding about the delivery skill of the trainer. So we can really identify the delivery skill of the trainer, and accordingly we can select him or reject him. Next is the interpersonal skills of a trainer. Necessarily, a training process involves interpersonal uh, relationship. There's the requirement of interpersonal skill. How a trainer deals with his trainer, how he talks with them, how he create a rapport with them, how he develop the relationship with them. So that's a very very important thing. So it depends upon the trainer. There are some people who have got high interpersonal skill capability, and they will be able to create very good rapport, and the environment will be very good. In a congenial atmosphere of learning can be created by that. Whereas at the same time, there are certain people may not have that kind of good interpersonal skills of a trainer, and we'll look for that interpersonal skill from within a trainer, and wherever required, we may be given them the training also for developing their interpersonal skill. But we should look for that interpersonal skill and the capability within a trainer. And then comes the very, very important thing, and that is what is known as attitude of the trainer. What is the attitude of the trainer? The trainer's attitude towards different things, and that toward different things. His attitude towards the organization, his attitude towards the learning process, his attitude towards the trainees, everything is a very, very important thing, and we'll be discussing that little later. The attitude is a very important concept, as you know that knowledge, skill, and attitude, all the three things are very, very important. Only knowledge is not sufficient. You should be able to transfer it into action, and that is what is the skill. But then, after all, everything, yeah, whatever you've got, any kind of skill, any kind of knowledge, is not going to work until there is a positive attitude in the person. So, whether the trainer has a positive attitude, if you have got an attitude, you can create many other things. So probably that attitude is one of the most important aspects. If the attitude is positive, one can learn something, can gather the knowledge, one can practice certain things and develop certain skills. But the attitude is not present, then nothing is going to happen. And moreover, attitude is something which is infectious. And the trainer has got a positive attitude that will transfer that positive attitude, get transferred, the positive attitude will get transferred to the people, to the trainees also. And therefore, It's of utmost important that the trainer should have a very, very positive attitude. The expectations from a trainer, that what we are already discussing, the same thing has been given here diagrammatically. The personal characteristics and traits, there are certain personal characteristics you'll see. His expertise in the subject matter, as I told you, he must be expert in his subject matter. And of course, the attitude is very, very important. That attitude will determine that to how he is going to function, how he is going to work, how he is going to influence their people, their trainees. And this must have the delivery skills, they must have the interpersonal skills. All these things together creates a good trainer. If one thing is lacking in any one thing is lacking out of this, there is a possibility of trainer not being so effective. So at the maximum amount of capability that these points are available within a trainer, he or she should be good trained. The next point, as I told you, the personal characteristics that we're going to discuss here. What are the personal characteristics which you need to look for in a trainer? The first thing is that need for seeing that appearance and action. Appearance is important, definitely important. Because appearance is sort of thing which creates the first impression. Appearance doesn't mean that somebody should be very beautiful or very handsome to look at. Appearance is his personality, his positive gesture, his confidence attire, and everything together. And how he looks is clean, neat and clean. His actions are positive, and that creates an impression in the minds of the people. So appearance and action, one first thing. So a trainer must be neat and clean, well clad, and she must have some actions which are positive, the action that really influences other people. Next point in is the personal conduct of the person. The personal conducts are very, very important because initially, even though somebody may be accepted as a trainer, but over a period of time, when he starts delivering his talks, the various characteristics will be discovered or revealed in the process of the deliberation, and that is going to really affect the popularity or the acceptance of the trainer. And in that process, the few important personal characteristics of conduct is number one, honesty. Honesty is reflected by the actions of the trainer. Whatever he says is true to that, is honest to that. If he doesn't know something, he expresses it clearly. It doesn't lie. He's straightforward, and that honesty and his straightforwardness, both things are very, very important. And a simple person is honest and is straightforward is accepted by the people. His sincerity is seen by his action. How far he is a trainer is really interested for the growth and development of the trainees, the trainees. How far the trainer is interested in sharing with the people. How far the trainer is interested to share his knowledge with the people. At times it happens the trainer is not going to tell everything to the trainees. He wants to keep certain things hidden within them. You must understand that the more you share, the more you learn. A trainer learns from experience expressing things to the trainees and discussing with them also. So the trainer's sincerity towards contributing to the trainees is a very important aspect. Next, the open to mistakes and feedbacks. You know, it's quite possible for every person to commit a mistake, but that is not something wrong. But not accepting his mistake and being adamant to the fact that he has not made any mistake, it really gives a very bad impression. A good trainer should be open to the feedback given by him. He should take the feedback positively with a desire to really change himself and grow himself and develop himself. So they should be open to mistake and his feedback. And that is also taken, accepted by the trainees very well. And such trainer, he may do some mistake once, but the next time he will not do that. So he will grow. That personal conduct is very, very important. Next one is helpful to others. Everyone who comes as a trainee with a trainer must feel that this person, this trainer, is going to help him in his process of, the facilitation process and the process of learning. This trainer is going to help him, and that being helpful to others is a very important characteristics of a good trainer on that person contact. And that kind of thing we look for within a trainer. And the next thing is the capacity to be a role model. When the process of learning is such a thing, the trainees look for something within the trainer. They want to imbibe those things which a good trainer has got. They want to imbibe their behavior, their actions, their ways and means of expression, and everything. So, if a trainer has got something which is extraordinary, the people would like to develop that within themselves, and that is the trainer should have the capacity of being a role model, and that's possible when the trainer has got certain specific capability. He has developed certain specific capabilities and skills, which is very well demonstrated by his work, his actions, by his deliberations. And if he has got that, then other people will very easily become influenced by it, and they will accept. That creates an acceptance. And once you are accepted by the trainee, then there is no end to it. You are now, then you are a good trainer now. So a trainer need to have these personal characters which are very important. And to just recapitulate it, there should have good appearance and actions. The personal conduct should be good, which reflects his honesty, his straightforwardness, his sincerity, his open to mistakes and feedback, his helpfulness to others, his capacity to be a role model. All these qualities are very, very important. And to continue with it, the next thing is the expertise of the subject matter. Important, very important. You cannot expect a trainer who is going to deliver some lecture on a particular topic. It doesn't have the knowledge on that. It's not only merely the knowledge, you should have good knowledge about it. So the trainees may have different questions which they will be able to ask him and get a success, the suitable reply to that, satisfactory reply to that. So knowledge of the subject domain, the subject which is being told, the subject which is being taught, the trainer should have knowledge of that. So it's not merely the knowledge, it is expected that he should have a thorough understanding of the subject. That is expected. If there is a thorough understanding of the subject, he will be in a position to deliver the things, and the people will be able to gather more knowledge from him through questioning process. So the trainer must have the knowledge of the subject domain, he must have thorough understanding of the subject, and then merely knowledge sometimes doesn't help. It's expected that you should have enough practice and experience in that. Because theoretically, whatever you may understand, if you have done it practically and then experienced it, you will be able to describe that. Then you can not only describe the knowledge, you can also describe the feelings about it. When you experience certain thing, you have done something yourself, you can tell the feelings, you can tell how it's to experience that. And that's a very, very important, um, very, very important thing which can be shared by a trainer who has got the practice and experience. So knowledge, thorough understanding of the subject, the practice and experience of that subject. Now, these are all which is the basic requirements. But more you understand, the more you capable of you become. And then, so the fourth point comes the capacity to face different questions. You know, knowing something and replying to the questions are two different things. You may know something, something, but you know something very straight. And if something complicated comes, if you don't have the experience, if you don't have the capability to handle that kind of question, you may not do well. So, uh, expertise the subject matter also means that trainer should be able to face the different questions. He should have the capacity to face the different questions, because the trainees, because of the lack of knowledge, or maybe sometimes because of their attitude, there may be various questions which may not be very comfortable for a trainer. But a trainer should feel comfortable. He should be able to handle those things with ease, and that is his capacity. But there is nothing which one cannot. answer to. You have to develop certain capabilities, certain abilities to handle different situations in different ways, right? So you should have the capacity, and we look for such kind of capacity within the trainers. Next, up to date with the knowledge of the subject matter. Yes, it's not merely the knowledge, it's not merely the thorough understanding. It requires practice, it requires experience, it also requires up to date knowledge of the subject. That up to date knowledge of the subject is very important, because that is really going to tell that if people are going to ask different questions, maybe they will ask something which is very current. So if a trainer doesn't know about it, he will face a difficult situation. He will feel it will give a very bad impression about him. So whatever is the subject matter in which a trainer is delivering, he is expected to have up to date knowledge of the subject matter of the subject. So this is the expertise of the subject matter is also very important. So I will just give a little recapitulation here. What should you look for a trainer? And the person characteristics and traits of the trainer, expertise of the subject matter, the delivery skill of the trainer, the interpersonal skill of the trainer, the attitude of the trainer. All things are very important, and you have seen that the personal characteristics involve the appearance and actions, his personal conduct in terms of his honesty, his straightforwardness, his sincerity, his openness to mistakes and feedback, his helpfulness to others, his capacity to be a role model by imbibing certain exceptional qualities, his expertise of subject matter in terms of his knowledge of the subject domain, his understanding, thorough understanding of the subject, his practice and his experience which he have undergone, his capacity to face the different questions, is up to date. He should be up to date with knowledge of the subject matter. With this, I come up to the first half of the session. I would like that if you've got any question so far, you are most welcome to ask me. Yeah. Any
So one,
question that you have got regarding this first part of the session,
sir,
you are
one question.
yeah.
Hello. Sir, is there a difference between skill mapping and competency mapping, or they are both same?
Now, little louder. I just could not listen it. Once again, please.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. My question is skill mapping and competency mapping are same, or there's a difference between them?
Can you see your sound system? No, I'm not. I can only hear few words. That's all. Just
Sir, he
huh,
has already written it in the chat box.
chat box. I'll check it.
He's already mentioned the question.
I will check it. I'm not getting the chat box. Where is the chat box? By the way.
Is it better now, sir?
Now it's better. Please. Huh,
Yeah. So my question
come on.
is there any like is skill mapping and competency mapping are both same thing, or there is a difference between them?
Competency mapping and
Skill mapping.
you see, skill is one component of the competence.
Okay.
In competence is to many other things. It is not merely the skill. Skill is one component of the competence.
Hmm. Because
The
in
over.
our
Hello.
yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that we use both interchangeably in our department, like that skill mapping and
Yeah, that is done in general. That is done like that. Skills
Mhm.
and competence, and so. But it's if you see it more detail, finer things, finer way, then the competence will involve skills also.
Okay. Okay.
One should be competent in his attitude. One should be competent in his skill. One should be competent in his knowledge. Various things. But we may sometimes interchangeably use it just to know that. But it is the same thing. Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
Now, yeah. Please come out with some questions. Nobody has got any question. How many people are there? 11, no. 23. None of them has got any question. Should I ask some question? Then I should ask some questions to you. May I ask?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Why do you think that delivery skill of a trainer is important? Anybody who can tell something about it? Why do you think that delivery skill is important for a trainer?
Sir, may I try? This is Pradeep.
No, actually, I'm not getting this chat box here. Anybody can tell me?
Is I
Chat.
audible, sir?
Yes,
This is
very clearly audible. Please tell.
so based on my experience. Delivery is important to engage the target audience. So if you lack delivery skills, you will miss out that part in training. That's why it's very important to have the good delivery skills as well.
So, as you were saying, that as per your statement, it is important because you need to keep people engaged. That's all. You-
Sir, may I
Yeah,
add to what he said already?
yeah.
Yes, sir. Otherwise, it would look like a programmed instruction, or some course that we just take online, wherein there is not a trainer, but just we get the slides or PPT presentations. But it's always important if we are delivering a session, we are conducting a session face to face, or where we are faced with the trainees participants, then it is really important to deliver properly. A person may be very good with knowledge, as you said today, that a person might be a subject matter expert.
Mhm.
But then, if the person is not really good with delivery part, the participants may not be that interested and may lose out on. I mean, we would lose out. The organization might lose out in the end result or outcome.
Okay. So that means what I understand, I gather from both of you what you have said. Number one, he says that now people gets engaged if you are delivering well. Number two, you said it doesn't become a stereotype, doesn't become monotonous or programmatic, and remains as if a human being is talking, is delivering well, and the organization gets benefited by it. But you are not telling that how they are going to be benefited. It's more than being engaged. What else a good delivery can give?
So may I try?
Yeah, please.
Kajal, go
So
ahead.
delivery skill is important because the way the thing that I want my trainees to understand,
Mm-hmm.
so that they can get it the way I want them to make it understood. I hope you are getting what I'm saying.
I'm getting your point. Yeah, that's right. That's a very good point. That if your delivery is proper, you will be able to tr- transfer the training. You'll be able to
Yes, yes,
transfer
this
the
is what I'm
concept.
like.
You'll
So
be
one
able
more
to,
Transfer the
thing.
knowledge, transfer
yeah,
of knowledge in a
transfer the
right.
knowledge to the people. That's very important. Without proper delivery, that will not be transferred. People will not be able to. Number one, yes, as we have said, people will become engaged. Absolutely right. People will become interested to listen. Absolutely right. But apart from that, a rapport will be created. And in that process, people will become connected to you. And once the people are connected to you, the knowledge will be transferred. The transfer of training will take place. So without proper delivery, you may have any kind of training, you may have any kind of knowledge, you may have any kind of skill, it's not going to help. Even if it's low, a very little, but you can transfer it well, you can deliver it well, people will learn something about it. And that's why, for while choosing a trainer, one of the most important thing that you should look for is his delivery style, how he is delivering, how he is talking to them. And for
So I want
delivering,
to add
yeah,
one point.
please.
So I just want to say that there is no difference between training, theater, and cinema. So
Okay.
what I feel is like all these celebrities, right? They become like a godlike figure. People pray to them, and every movie we have our own favorite celebrities, and we have our own favorite villains. So a trainer is nothing but he is just doing a training and it is as same as doing a theater or as same as doing a cinema, because at the end of the day you just want a message to be conveyed. And cinema and theater have gone to a different level of theatrics, because there they want to entertain people as well. And here we just want to convey our message in a very very delightful way, so that people can remember us after. And the most important thing is delivery style is important, because it builds credibility of a trainer. Even after 12 months or 1 year, if I hear some word in the same tone, the same accent, or the same theatrics, I'll remember that, okay, this trainer taught me this. So
Right.
it a bridge and a connection. So that is what I think.
Just one more
So,
thing, sir.
yeah,
This is Pradeep again. I
yeah.
think delivery is important because nowadays trainings are time bound,
Yeah.
and it's very important for you to complete your entire course in that allocated time. And if you lack your delivery skills, somewhere either you will lose out on your completing the entire course, or you will extend it. In
Mhm.
both the situation, you know the target audience won't take this in a positive note, because if you consume more time than what is allocated, then it's also like not a good exercise. Also, if you reduce your content training content,
Mhm.
that is also going to be not taken as a good sign from the target audience. So it's very important that you have a very nice deliverable skills, so that you can respect
Absolutely.
both the content as well as the time factor as well.
Absolutely, you're right. You see, we need to understand one very important thing is that but the competence of a person and to become successful in this life, one of the most important skill is to become having effective communication skill. Communication is one of the most important way by which you can really influence others. Be it a trainer, be it an actor, be it a singer, be it a motivator, whosoever it is, be it a leader, it is only through communication he influences people. And in all these places, the delivery is very important. And the actor will deliver like an actor, the trainer will deliver like a trainer, the leader will deliver like a leader. So in everywhere, it's a delivery that is important, which is most suitable to that particular situation or that particular role we is playing with. And when he can do that well, he becomes a role model. He becomes acceptable. A trainer becomes acceptable. A leader becomes acceptable. An actor becomes acceptable because they are created as a role model by the people who are listening to them. So that being converted to make one somebody converted into a role model, you need to deliver well, and that the capacity to deliver is a process which you learn out of practice, and of course with some of the things which are inborn within certain people, and that's a very very important aspect, and that really makes a trainer the most acceptable to the other people. So that's nice. That good participation you have made. Is there any other question? No, no question. The earlier also you didn't have any question. I had to ask you a question. So should we go forward now further? Yeah. So now let me just go further. What is there? Now, when you talk of the delivery skills,
Just a moment. Sir, are you, I mean, you just asked about the chat box. So are you logged in with mobile, I mean, via mobile or via
no, 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 via PC.
via PC? Okay. So there is this, on the bottom strip of your page, there would be this chat section.
Nee, nee, then I have to go back, stop sharing, then to open that, then I'll come back.
Or
Let me
else
do
what you
that.
can do, sir, you can
Let me
press
do that.
Alt H. This is the shortcut of opening the chat window.
Yeah,
Alt H.
Alt H.
all takes, yeah.
Yes.
So this might open the chat window for you.
It's not doing anything. It may go into any big problem. Let me just.
Probably that has to be done while he is on the Zoom page, and then he can, use
Yes.
it
Alt
ultimately.
H.
Nee, nee, nee,
Yeah.
I'm not getting here any chat box, anything. Can you help me, Mr. Arun? Now I have lost my the sharing also. Hello, Arun.
Yes, sir.
I don't find anything. Sharing I don't get. I don't see the chat box. Can you help me?
Just hello.
No, no, no. Everything has gone useless. I don't find the menus here. Now it has come. Share the screen and chat and share screen.
Sir, that is a chat box.
Uh,
The chat portion that you just spoke about, that is a chat box where people would.
I'm doing that. I'm doing that. Share. Let me. I think now I'm coming. Let me just open from the beginning. Yeah, from beginning. Yeah. No, I'm not getting the chat. Anyway, let me continue.
Yeah.
I'm getting the chat here. You know what is this? So small, hide thumbnail, speaker volume. What is this? This read video. I wish I could have got seen it, but no, it's not there anyway.
Uh,
Anyway,
Mr. Chakrabarti, you just need to once use the shortcut, that Alt H, on the Zoom page, and then you can maybe, possibly use it when you are sharing the screen.
yes, please. बोलो. हाँ. हाँ, स्क्रीन तो ऑन हो गया और चैट बॉक्स नहीं मिल रहा है मेरे को.
So what I would suggest is,
हाँ.
you ca- we can ask you the questions
एक
verbally only.
मोबाइल.
Yeah.
स्मॉल करूँ, कैसे करूँ स्मॉल? हाँ, मोर आ गया. ठीक है, मोर आया. ठीक है, चैट में करूँ क्लिक. ओके, मैंने कर तो दिया चैट में क्लिक. नहीं, चैट का तो आ गया. चैट में मैंने क्लिक भी कर दिया, कुछ नहीं हुआ. नहीं, अच्छा चैट के ऑप्शन है. और अच्छा, नहीं, ये तो चैट यहाँ साइड में है. यहाँ चैट है. ओके ओके, अच्छा ये चैट है. अच्छा ये है, पर इसको साइड में करना चाहिए ना. इसको साइड में कैसे करूँ? देखता हूँ, खींच के हो जाएगा. हाँ, चलो ठीक है. टू सम एक्सटेंट इट्स ओके. थैंक यू. थैंक यू. Well, let me continue now. Yes, I can find the chat box. Yeah. Delivery skill constitutes of two kinds of skills. Number one, the facilitation skill, and the second is the presentation skill. What are this facilitation skill and the presentation skill? Let me just see it now. No, not being able to change it. Facilitation skills. It involves enabling the trainees to achieve their objectives, and facilitation is a process by which the trainer enables the people to achieve their objective, means their objective of training. So he is actually creating facility for that process, and that's what is known as the facilitation skills. He works, he talks, he delivers in such a way that people, it becomes easier for the people to learn. They can achieve their objectives of learning from the training process, and that's what is known as the facilitation skill. One of the components of facilitation skill. Second component is the understanding the needs of the trainees. Understanding the needs of the trainees and delivering those. Now, a good trainer, should be able to understand that what is the need of the trainees. Are you getting my point? Means what? A good trainer should be able to understand beforehand. It happens. When somebody becomes a good trainer, then he knows very precisely what the people are now expecting from him. What are the areas where the people or the trainees are now making some mistake, or they're not getting able to understand certain things. So he understands the needs of the trainees and delivers accordingly. He puts forward his logic, put forward his point of view, put forward his expression and explanation in such a way that people understand that. And that's a good, very good, important facilitation skill. A good competent trainer has got that capability to understand the level of the mental level of the trainees, what they are not being able to understand, where they are lacking. And the third thing in facilitation skill is the using appropriate training method based on the characteristics of training. There are various training methods that you have seen. You have seen the methods which are, the experiential methods you have seen, the cognitive methods that you have seen, and within that cognitive methods as well as the experiential methods also, there are various other kinds of various other training methods where some are visual is very important, some are auditory is very important, and accordingly, as you know, the training styles. Some people are visual oriented, some are auditory oriented, some are experience oriented, the feeling oriented. So, depending upon the various things, a trainer should be able to use various methods, switch from one method to the other method. You are delivering a lecture, then you may should be able to do some role play or do some make give some case study or allow them to make a break into discussion mode, and then get the results very well. At the same time, you may at times give some auditory and sometimes give some visual things so that people can understand that. So a trainer should be competent enough to talk in different ways, talk in different methods, should be able to conduct various training methods depending upon the target group, depending upon the training. He should be versatile in that, and that will help in facilitating the entire process. Then come the using various activities in training process to ensure transfer of training. Sometimes, apart from these methods, in that method itself, there are certain activities which are required to be done. Activities helps the students to get involved in that process, and that gives an experiential thing, and that experience is very important. So he should be able to do various activities. You know, I must tell you something very important here. Merely for the sake of doing some adding certain activities or certain training methods is not important. Sometimes I've seen people, they just add some case study, they just add some role play, they just add some activity in that. But at times, what happens, that activity or that particular method, it goes far away from the concept of the training or the subject matter. So it should be overall, it should be beneficial for the training. That's very important. Merely making in some activity, merely giving some training method is not going to help. It should be in congruence with the subject matter. It must be in congruence with the need of the trainees. It must be in congruence with the concept and the theme and understanding level of the particular training being particular topics being taught with. That's something word of caution. It's not an ornament. It's not something which you do that and you become a good trainer. No, not at all. One has to understand its relevance. One should be able to understand where it should be given, and it should be uh, properly and suitably applied. Setting the trainer environment and directions. A trainer must be able to set the training environment. And ultimately, it is the trainer who is going to create the training environment. The way he talks, the way he delivers, the way he uses the method, the way he creates activities, the way he delivers, the way he expresses his emotion, the way he creates the rapport. He is going to create a training environment, and he is going to direct the people who will, if you are a good trainer, people will become mesmerized to follow you. and that becomes very, very important. You'll be able to set that training environment, and then it will be a highly effective facilitation process. So it is all these five things very important in the facilitation skill. uh, it enables the trainees to achieve the objective. The trainer must be able to understand the needs of the trainees, and he will accordingly deliver. He must use the appropriate training methods which is suitable for the trainees. He should be able to use certain activities which are really relevant to that subject and for that suitable to the trainees. He should be able to create the training environment and the direction which is very, very important. Well, now let me see the some of the components of the facilitation skill. The components of the facilitation skill are: number one, it's a communication skill, very important part of the communication skill. Understanding the learning style of people, whether it's visual, it's auditory, or it is, the feeling, what is there, that people must understand, the trainer must understand that. Managing the trainee's motivation, the what are the things that motivates training, means he should be able to relate the subject to the training. The subject should be He should be able to describe the subject in a way that people gets motivated to learn that, or the process he uses that should motivate the people to learn. So that element of motivation should be involved, whether the methods, whether the process, whether the delivery, and whether the logic that is being given, whether the experience is sharing, something should be able to motivate the people. Another very important thing, that he should be able to answer the questions. Question answer is very, very important. It creates rapport, it creates relationship, it creates confidence, it creates the acceptance of the trainer, right? So that answering question is a very important skill, the facilitation skill. The people may have different kinds of questions, difficult questions, out of the blue questions, but a trainer should be very elegantly should be able to handle those questions, to create his, and that's possible. It's only some experience and some efforts that is made on the part of the trainer to handle this kind of thing. So handling different types of questions is a very important facilitation skill. Time management is very important because it is a time, everything has to be completed within a particular time period. So a trainer must be able to manage the things within the time, and that's very important. Maintaining the context and references. And at times it is found that the trainer is talking something, but the subject matter is something different, the context is somewhat different. Even if the subject matter is itself is being taught, the level at which he is talking is not the level of the trainees which is addressing to. So that maintaining that context and reference is very, very important to really make the training process happen, to really create that facilitation process appropriate and suitable to the training event. The next important part is the presentation skill. The presentation skill is very, very important, the most important skill for a trainer. He should be able to present these things properly. Most important skill, it will ensure the transfer of training. The training will be transferred, and the presentation is proper. The people will be able to accept it, people will be able to understand it, will become involved in it, and that the result will come. It will create an interest irrespective of the subject and the level of training. It's a very important process for a trainer is to create that interest on the subject. If you cannot create interest on the subject, people will not listen to you. So the primary object of a trainer is first to create that interest in the training process for the trainees, right? Then there are certain other important aspects which are very important in a presentation skill are: the delivery must be logical, sequential, and relevant. It should be presented logically so that people can accept it sequentially. It should be relevant to the subject matter, whatever he is talking to. He should be able to maintain appropriate speed of delivery. And if you become too fast, people will not be able to accept it. If you become too slow, that people will become impatient to listen to you and you will not be accepted. It should be able to maintain the appropriate speed of delivery depending upon the target group, their knowledge level, and their expectations from you. Maintaining and exhibiting confidence, that's very important. You have to maintain your confidence, you have to exhibit that. If you can create that, once you're accepted by them, you're accepted forever. So to maintain and exhibit that confidence, that's a very important quality of a presentation. You should be able to deliver the enthusiasm in your talks, whatever you say. If you are demotivated, you show that you are lacking in enthusiasm. People also get infected by that. And should be able to have delivered enthusiasm. A very important quality of a trainer is voice modulation, because you cannot become monotonous to the people. You have to, in a face-to-face presentation, it becomes very important to modulate your voice. Sometimes you have to go at a high pitch, sometimes you have to go at a low pitch, depending on what kind of attention you want from the people, because in the voice modulation creates attention. At different modes of attention is created. Modes of underlining the concept is done through the modulation, right? The trainer in an important in presentation skill, avoiding the distracting expression. Sometimes the trainer has got certain habits, either repeating certain words or making certain gestures. He should be able to stop it. That is distracting expression. That's very important in the presentation skill. You should be able to maintain appropriate body language. The body language should be appropriate, which can help the presentation process properly, and that should take place. Maintaining the appropriate body language is very important, because that's really going to help the transfer of training, transfer of knowledge. Organizing the content effectively, when, what is to be said when, and in what way, and up to what time, and everything is very important. That organizing the content effectively is also part of the presentation skill. Needless to say, when as I said you earlier, the presentation skill is very good, the facilitation skill is very good, and out of which presentation is very good. But the interpersonal skill you are lacking into, it's not going to help you. That interpersonal skill has to be of a very high level, a good level. You should have the able capacity to create relationship with the trainees. And that capacity to create relationship with the trainee is very important. And how it can do that creating that interpersonal relationship. Some of the points which are given here: approving the trainee capability. The trainer must understand it is not he who is capable only. He must not undermine the trainee. He must accept. He must he must accept and declare the capabilities of the trainees also, to motivate them. You must approve the training capability. And then when you create that capability, they'll become more closer to you. They'll create better rapport with you, right? You need to respect, the trainer need to respect the dignity of the training. You cannot say that you don't know, I will tell you. No, never should have any such kind of attitude that you people do not know anything, I know everything. No, nobody knows everything. And it is also not so that if giving training to somebody, he doesn't know anything. He knows many things, right? So there should have dignity of training. In fact, what happens, a trainer and trainee both learn from each other. It's a process of transference of knowledge. So trainers learn from the trainees only. All right. Similarly, the trainees learn from the trainers. It's a two-way process. So we must respect the dignity of training. No arrogance, even if you don't know subject, even if there is a difference in opinion on a particular topics or a subject or something, you need not be arrogant in that. You must be able to accept the other's point of view as well as share your point of view. It's not necessary at every point of time your ideas will coincide with the ideas of the trainees. It may not happen. It may you may stop the thing at that moment and say, that's your point of view, this is my point of view, but we respect each other's point of view. That's fine. They should have the ability to create the mutual trust, that whatever the trainer is saying, to the best he is saying, and to the best his knowledge and opinion, whatever he is delivering, he knows about it. There should have mutual trust. Yeah, that the trainer is interested in the development and the growth of the training. That thing should be evolved out of his training delivery. That mutual trust. A trainer has to become polite and empathetic. A trainer has to become polite and empathetic. Being polite is very important. Being empathetic is very important. Trainer must understand the level of the people, the level where the trainees are, the trainee is lying. So he must be empathetic to that, right? And should accordingly deliver his talk, so that the trainee must be able to catch up with his thoughts. He should be able to have a capacity to create rapport with the trainee. That's very important. You have to create that rapport. And whatever is said so far will create the rapport. A trainee should be able to accept the point of view of the trainers. The trainer should be able to accept the point of view of the trainees, right? As well as to learn, as well as to disagree. So uh, one must accept others' point of view openly. One must know how to disagree with things. One should not be offensive in disagreeing in something. I may not disagree with the point of view of somebody else, but there is a courteous way and there is a proper way of accepting that or disagreeing to the points of view of other people. A trainer must have a good capability of doing that. He must have equal attention to all trainees, equal attention to all trainees. He should not be focusing on one particular person or two person. He should be focusing his attention in the whole entire room and talk to the entire people. Attitude is very, very important. It's very important, and that for the trainer's attitude is an infectious thing. The way a trainer behaves, the way a trainer thinks, it will be percolated to the trainees also. So the trainer's attitude toward the organization very important. How does he think about the organization he is involved in, and that will be that will surpass, that will go pass on to the people. So if a trainer is very positive about the organization, he will be able to deliver that positivity within the people of the organization. His attitude toward the trainees, that how does he think of the trainee? The trainees doesn't know anything, trainees are useless, training don't work, they are not learning. He should not have any kind of negative attitude toward them. He should have very positive attitude. Every person has got certain positive things that may have certain negative things, but we should always look for the positive things and we should develop out of that. So a trainer's attitude toward the trainees will determine to what extent he will be able to create that level of interpersonal relationship with the trainees. His attitude towards learning, how serious he is, how sincere he is in the process of learning, in the process of training, and that will become percolated. That will get also infect the trainees, and trainees will also behave accordingly. They will also learn accordingly. Trainer's attitude towards life. How does the trainer look at the life? Not only the training, the life is positive about it. How far he is positive, and that will influence the trainees also, the way he looks at his life. So his attitude, the trainer's attitude, the organization, and towards the trainees, towards the learning, towards the life, and the overall and everything, and that will really influence the people, influence the trainees, and the trainees will learn according to them. That's a very, very important thing in a training process. Well, what I've said that so far, that trainers need to be learned, trainers need to be selected, trainers need to have certain capacities, certain skills involved within them. But it is also important to manage the trainers. Any resource, as I say in management, every resource has to be managed. The very concept of managing comes from the fact that every resource is scarce. And if there is a scarce resource, you should be able to manage it because you have to make the best use of it. So trainers are also a very rare commodity. A good trainer is a rare commodity, and you should be able to manage that and make a best use of it. And for that, and there are a few things that to be done. A few things have been pointed out here. Number one, there should be periodical training process and development. A trainer is the resources, and you must be able to use that resource properly to the best of it. And for that, you need to make periodical training on the recent development that's taking place in the domain of his subject area where he is talking about and delivering. Imparting knowledge of this field work. It should be at from time and again, from time to time, and there may be various changes in the field in the area of the work where the trainer may have worked a long back. So you should be able to give that field knowledge. At sometimes you should be able to impart that field knowledge by giving him an opportunity to do something on the job and get a feel of the change things or updated things, and that really is going to help the trainers to remain relevant to to the present environment. Imparting knowledge of the field work, yes, it's inspiring to undertake new qualification and certification. Time and again, the trainer should be inspired to take new qualifications, add new qualifications and certifications, because there are new things which are happening. As a patch, they should learn those things and should become relevant, remain relevant. And the organization should motivate people, the trainers, to do that. And that motivation may come by paying the fees for that, and by uh, giving them incentives so that they can learn the subject. So for in the process of managing the trainers, here I have talked of three things: the periodical training for development, imparting the knowledge of the field work, and inspiring them to take up new qualification and certification. Well, I'm coming to a new point here. We are talking of the trainers, but at times, we may require to hire a consultant from outside for giving training on a particular subject. But the question is, when do we need the consultants? That is, there are three basic areas, reasons for which we may need the trainer consultant. Number one, when there is a lack of resource. An organization may not have that many number of trainers in the organization, right? They do not have that resources in terms of quantity as well as quality. In terms of quantity means if there is a lack of trainers and the number of trainees are more, and so the given number of trainers cannot train them within a specified time period, so we may have to hire some consultant from outside who will train the people. This is what the quantitative aspect of it. The qualitative aspect is this, that at times it happens the subject matter only the training is required to be given, there is no trainer available in the organization. A newly emerged subject, and which is required to be, the training is becomes mandatory to be given maybe by the government authorities or by the organization. So you need to train people, so you may have to hire people from outside, the consultants. It may be because of the lack of trainer individuals. As I said, the individual trainers are not available in the organization, so we may have to have the consultants from outside. You may have, if you want to have your own trainers, it may be very expensive. At times it happens that there are a number of trainees are more, and the number of trainers available in the organization is there, but it's not sufficient. And developing new trainers, giving them training, and then using them to give the training may become very costly. It's better to hire a person where the cost will be much less, only paying the fees for a day or a few days or a week or a month, whatsoever it may be, depending upon the requirement and the subject matter concerned and the expertise concerned, it may become cheaper, right? So cheaper to hire a consultant than to develop their own trainer force within the organization. In such cases, also the consultants are hired. uh, Now, the consultants, when you talk of the consultant, there are certain things which you need to understand, in the sense that when do we take the consultants, as I told you earlier, but at the same time, certain things which you have to keep in mind while dealing with the consultants, and that is, the consultants, they may be experienced or knowledgeable in a particular area, but every organization has got an unique environment, unique place where the same knowledge is to be applied. That applied knowledge may be different in different organizations, right? So the consultant may have some generic program they have conducted, right? But they need to be adapted to the needs of the specific organization. So when a consultant is hired, the consultant must be talked with, discussed with, and uh, their knowledge must be adapted to the needs of the specific organization as it is required, right? The consultants, they should be able to ready to go, in the sense that by consulting with them, giving discussions with them, other things must be ready to go, and it should be delivered. As I told you, that disadvantage with the trainers, the consultants sometimes, that they are not specific to a company. For every company, there are certain things which is specific. They may have the generic understanding of the subject, but the applied things may be a little difficult and different, and that has to be achieved by mutual understanding, mutual discussion in them. At the same time, this can be supplemented with in-house training to reduce the cost. In the sense, we may call the consultants, and then there some of the representatives of the organization may sit in the training process, and they get trained, and later on they may train the people in the organization. That can reduce the cost, because you may not have to continuously use the outside consultants, which involve more cost, high cost. So it can be supplemented with the in-house training. in-house training where the people have got training from the consultants, right? This is to be remembered. Next point, there are certain decision points to hire a consultant. When do we hire a consultant? When the number of employees to be trained and how frequently. When the number of trained employees are to be trained very high and very frequently give the training, so there the resources is less in the organization, we may have to call for the consultants from outside. There is a need for involving neutral third parties. Sometimes a third party is involved in the process in the sense that when at times what happens, the organization do not have the knowledge of the particular subject in which they are going to give training. You may hire a consultant, but how do you know whether the consultant is really giving the proper knowledge? So you may have to hire a third party who will become the mediator kind of thing, who will see and observe the kind of training that's being given by the consultant, whether it is suitable to the organization or not. When there is a need for, there is a feeling of urgency of the need to be accomplished, the training to be accomplished within a certain particular point of time, and the number of people are very high, then we may have to hire consultants from outside and give simultaneously many training so the number may be achieved, right? When there is availability of in-house expertise is not available, there is lack of availability, then you may have to call for the consultants from outside. Credibility of the consultant is very important. Before selecting a consultant, you must check his credibility. You may have to ask for the references and follow-ups from him. You may have to ask for the references that from where he has already given the training. We can connect with them and can ask about the credential of the consultant and his past performance by following up with him. You may know how much the consultant knows about the industry by referring to where he has already given training outside prior to this. We may have reviewed training options in the consultant's training package. And the training package may should be able to deliver the talk about the things, and that will in itself will explain what is the depth of understanding of the knowledge the trainer and the consultant may have in that particular subject area. How consultant evaluate the success in training, that you should be able to evaluate that, because for every training process there must have some evaluation process, and we should be able to understand that what is that evaluation, that parameters of evaluation given by the consultant, and that we can discuss with the consultant what will be the evaluation parameters on which we should be able to judge his capability, judge his his results that is going to deliver to us, right? And yes, of course, you must know make sure you know the trainer. You must know the capability of the trainer. You're talking about everything else, but ultimately that means what? One should listen to him prior to that. One must know about him prior to that. One must know his efficacy and his report and his credibility from the market. So you must make sure that you know the trainer. Once you know the trainer, then you rely on him and you can really call him as a consultant. So we've seen various things involved in it. We have seen the capabilities of the trainer, his personal characteristics that you have seen, his attitude you have seen, his skill you have seen. We have seen that you need to manage trainers. We need to see. We have seen that we need to have consultants. We have seen that when the consultants are required to be seen and what are the points to be taken care of while hiring a consultant. Now I'm at the fag end of the training session. I would like that if you have got any question in this, this is a very big session. Any question on this, you are most welcome to ask. Please come out. Nobody has got any question? I have not said anything so far, it seems. I think everyone has left the place. Nobody is there now.
No, so we are here only.
But they are dumb. They're not talking anything. Anything that you want to share, anything you want to give a feedback, anything you want to ask me, please come out with some of your expressions. Express yourself. You are all trainers.
So the
No.
class was very good, and it was very crystal clear because concepts are very much into our veins only. So it's in our blood. So we're just revising the things.
That's
It
nice.
was an excellent class, sir.
That's nice.
Yes, sir. The class is excellent.
Hello. The sound has gone abruptly, yeah?
Yes, sir. Then session was very nice.
Okay. Hmm.
Sir, the slides and your explanation says much. I mean, I just have one more, request to you. I mean, not one, two requests. Um, I mean, if you can include a question round after a particular topic instead of, just twice. I mean, halfway through and at last of the. I mean, at the end of the session. Can we just do that? If it is, if at all it is possible and not lengthy enough, you can keep 2 to 3 minutes kind of break or gap for questions after each major topic.
I can very well do that. There's no problem, provided you express like that. At times I feel that I'm asking you questions, I'm disturbing you in between also. But that's very nice. It's very good. It suits to me that I complete one particular topic, particular area, and then I discuss with you, I talk with you. That's very nice. And maybe in the next time I'll try to do that. Yeah, yeah, that's
Okay,
nice.
thank you. And sir, another request is for that classroom sharing. I told you that we do have a Google Classroom, and I would request you. I do understand that the lectures are there on YouTube.
Hello.
Hello, am I audible to you, sir?
Yeah, yeah. Please come out.
Yeah, so I mean, the lecture is already uploaded on YouTube. Yet, I would just request you if you can, send, I mean, share the PPT in the Google Classroom. We also have a
I've
class.
already told you that these are to be shared by them. I've already given them the.
I understand, sir, but in that case, we are not even getting. If there is a change of schedule, it is just sent via WhatsApp or something. These days, mails have. I mean, things do not. We do not get much of these things. I don't know. In the first semester, everything used to be pitch perfect, kind of. But in this semester, I'm not seeing. I mean, there is some sort of mismanagement, or I don't know. I should not be the one, pointing out at them. Like